gentlemen, good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world right now. Welcome to another stream of AMS Live. My name is Boy. It is Thursday, the 26th of January 2023. Good morning, Koenie. We're standing at the Polderbaan at the same location as last Sunday. Departures are taking place. Now, unlike Sunday, today the sky is clear, almost clear. There are a few clouds, high clouds in the distance, but the sun is out. There's no significant weather. It's kind of okay, so ceiling and visibility are okay. It's boring weather, so to speak, but boring in a good way. The sun is out, you can see it reflect on the livery. There's an A330 lining up, but there's more coming up. We have another plane and the third plane also coming this way. Before I went live, I had a quick look and saw that, contrary to earlier this morning, Runway 09 is also in use for departures. I'm hoping that most of the traffic will go via the Polderbaan, where we are standing at. We weren't disappointed last Sunday. I'm sure it will work out today as well. You can see in the distance the windmills, they are spinning. There is some wind blowing from the north. This is runway 36 left. These planes are now taking off in northern direction. What you heard just now was one of the fireworks set off by the Schiphol scarecrows, the Heavies, the bird controllers. They are, as you can see, working alongside the Polderbaan at the moment to make sure that the planes taking off don't get any birds in their engines while taking off. Temperature is 5 degrees centigrade or 41 degrees Fahrenheit or so. Goedemorgen René, goedemorgens, deze morgen, goeiesmorgens. So, at the threshold at the moment, ready to depart, is a Boeing 777-200ER going to Quito from KLM. You can see the spray behind the engines. The runway is wet. Last night and yesterday evening it rained. Today, no precipitation is expected. Also not for the upcoming days, I believe. temperatures are also going up per today. Yesterday it was still around freezing as it was the days before. So it actually feels like early spring right now, where I'm standing at in the sun. Another plane already lined up at the threshold, Dreamliner. This is Boeing 787-10, the biggest Dreamliners of the fleet that KLM has. It's KLM flight 689 going to Cancun, Mexico. The plane you see at this moment is 2 years old and was delivered in January 2020. More people. Kuni also knows the debiteur crediteur reference. For those of you who aren't Dutch, people in the chat greeted each other and me the way they did in a famous series in the Netherlands. I wouldn't call it the Dutch office because the office is much better thought out and ran longer, but it was a comedy that took place in an office place environment. So this plane off to Cancun, which means it will make a left-hand turn after a few minutes. It's now climbing in northern direction. To the north of Schiphol and of this runway lies the North Sea Canal, connecting the North Sea to Amsterdam and what used to be the IJsselmeer. That is no longer a densely residential area, so there it makes a left-hand turn to go towards England, Scotland, Ireland, depending on where the North Atlantic tracks are at this moment, and that of course depends on the wind. You can see, we can still see the plane. Visibility is good. Last Sunday by now the plane would have been in the clouds and no longer visible. We will be able to see it make a left-hand turn shortly. Let me center it before my camera loses focus. Very sensitive to that if it's not in the center of field. Hard for me to see because the sunlight is now illuminating the screen of my camera, but I think I can still see the plane. Okay, now my camera is starting to have difficulty keeping focus on it. But no matter, let's turn around the camera. Other traffic is coming up. Here we have an A330 taxiing to the runway, but there is already another plane on the threshold. An A330neo. You can see the engines are bigger, the winglets are curved instead of angled. You'll also hear the difference. Although I didn't have the chance to have a look at Flight Radar to see where this plane is headed out to, but I'm sure being Delta, it's going to go to the United States, so similar to the KLM flight to Cancun we saw before it, it will make a left-hand turn eventually. Now this was the A330neo. We have its predecessor lining up at the moment, one of the older types of A330, also Delta. You can see how the engines are smaller. You can see how at the end of the wings, the winglets, they're curved, or they're angled, I should say. Goedemorgen, Miran, Gosse, welcome. Good to see you guys again. So this A330-300 will be going to Detroit, and it is 6 years old. Also listen to the sound when it spools up. You can definitely tell the difference between the older and the newer types. Anybody above a certain age will tell you that age is just a relative thing. This plane, of course, being only 6 years old. My car is older than that, let me put it like that. I think I can also see the vortices at the wingtips. Barely, you guys can see that way better than I can, because I'm looking behind my camera on my camera screen, which is only 3 or so inches, 3.5 inches, and also the sun is shining on it, on parts of it, so you guys can see much more detail than I can. So all these planes taking off will go to England first and go onto the North Atlantic tracks, over to Canada, and then continue wherever they need to go to. In the meantime, new traffic is coming up in the distance. What seems to be an Airbus, and making its way to the threshold. A little Embraer from SAS. So this SAS Embraer 195 is going to go to Copenhagen, the capital of Denmark. This plane is 16 years old. 600 or so kilometer flight, which means it won't take more than an hour, depending on how busy it is at the destination airport. Copenhagen lies to the northeast of Amsterdam, so this plane will make a right-hand turn eventually, probably off towards Groningen, which is the northeasternmost province of the Netherlands. more traffic is underway. Where is it? I think it's on the left. Here's another Embraer coming up, and the Airbus is already making its way. Don't know where this one is headed out to, but most likely England. I would have to look at flight radar, but I didn't have the time so far. I'm going to quickly turn around the camera as the sun will disappear behind one of the few clouds. To the right, there's already another Embraer lining up. We can see that the Dash 8 is making its way over here, probably Flybe, because that's, I think, the only operator that still uses Dash 8s. Behind it, another, what is it? It's a 737. I have to look more closely to see what plane it is. In the meantime, the Embraer from KLM starting. Rotation. Not too heavily loaded apparently. All right. Turn around the camera. In the meantime, more planes are headed out this way. I can see another Embraer. 737, and the Dash 8 is making its way to the threshold. Let me quickly glance at flight radar. The Dash 8 is indeed from Flybe and will be heading out to London Heathrow. The 737 is going to Stockholm. The Embraer behind it, number 3, going to Toulouse. Let's quickly go back to the action. Always lovely to see turboprops. Also a dying breed, as the tri-jets and soon to be the quad jets. Everything is twins, twins, twins. Here, the 737 already going. Okay, let's turn around the camera, see what's coming up next. We already have new traffic underway, another A330 at the threshold at the moment. The second Embraer. Oh no, it wasn't the second. We had a Dash 8, we had a 737, and this is the Embraer. So, those of you just joining us, welcome to the stream, welcome to AMS Live. My name is Boy, and we are standing at the Polderbaan, runway 36 left, on this Thursday, the 26th of January. Weather is calm, the sun is out, wind is blowing from the north, not too much, not too hard. Last time I checked, we had 2 runways in use for departures. This runway, but also runway 09. Let me double check that in a moment. It's 5 degrees centigrade or 41 degrees Fahrenheit. JT Jets, good morning. This plane, Delta 73, is going to Atlanta. Let me quickly go back so that you guys don't miss it. Well, there's no precipitation in the weather forecast for today and the next couple of days. You can see the runway is still wet. We did have rain last night and yesterday evening. Meanwhile, the next plane is already at the threshold waiting to go. But it's a small plane. So it will have to wait until the wake turbulence of the A330 has dissipated somewhat. Otherwise, the people are going to be in for a bumpy ride. Gives me some time to look at flight radar. This is an Airbus A319 from British Airways, going to London Heathrow. This plane is a millennial, was delivered in June 2000, 22 years old. JT Jets asked me which camera I'm using. I'm using a Canon XA40. And I have to say I'm happy with the image quality. Although I am struggling somewhat still with the sound. but that has nothing to do with the camcorder because that's standalone. On paper it should be a good mic. Rode video mic Go 2. I'm using the DJI mic wireless system with a lavalier mic to do the commentary. And for some reason it sometimes still sounds suboptimal. Although I do believe that last couple of streams have been better sound-wise than they have been in the beginning. Of course, this is all learning curve. If this channel ever generates revenue, by the way, if you want to help me reach that goal, please subscribe, because I need 1,000 subscribers before being able to also get ad revenue from Google. But I think an upgrade of my microphone is probably the first thing to consider in the future. The camera I'm quite happy with, to be honest. Okay, so coming up is, let me see, 737-800 from TUI, going to go to Fuerteventura, the Canary Islands. And this is a plane that is 9 years old. And there are a few other narrow bodies following it. Embraer to Wrocław in Poland, and British Airways A320 to London Gatwick. The City Hopper, which will enter in the distance as number 2, is 13 years old, and the A320 to Gatwick is 20 years old. Now I do see, when I look at Flight Radar, that there are a few Heavies already live on the platform. I'm not yet sure if they're all going to come this way. Let me double check. I think there are still 2 runways in use for departures. Oh no, we're in luck. So the app I'm using to look at the current runway use says that 36 left, which we are standing at, is now the only runway for departures, and that there are 2 runways in use for landings, 06 and 36 right. So if that is indeed true, that means that all departing traffic that you can see on Flight Radar will be coming this way. JT Jets asked me if I use OBS, laptop and video capture card. Something similar. I do use my laptop. But instead of a capture card, I use a switcher. I have an A10 Mini with me. Also an external power supply that you can put AC outlets in. That's the downside of using the switcher, but the upside is, should I ever wish to expand to using multiple cameras, I already have the hardware ready. Had some difficulties with the sound when I tried a capture card. And I'm not using OBS, although I did have a look at it, but I didn't. It took too long for me to understand, so I quickly switched. And since I have a MacBook, I use Ecamm Live. The downside of that is that it is subscription based, so it is costing me some dollars each month. And I find it very useful, very versatile to use, and so far I haven't been disappointed in buying a subscription for it. Of course, it all adds up somewhat, but it's a hobby. It's allowed to cost something, right? So, a few planes are coming up. This is the plane to London. In the background we see some tails moving about, and we see what looks to be an Airbus A320, maybe even a Neo, but I'm not looking at flight radar at the same time, and it's still far out, so I'm not sure yet. We can see a lot of movement in the background in the main platform area. Ah, you didn't hear the software I use. I use Ecamm Live, which is specifically for MacBook users. It is in fact a Neo coming up from SAS. And some heavies are also underway, ladies and gentlemen, so stick around. First up will be a 777 to Guangzhou from China Southern Cargo. Then a 777-200 to Bangalore, India is coming up from KLM. We also have another 777 from Qatar Cargo coming up after that to Doha. So 3 triples in a row, ladies and gentlemen. Well, let's hope that the other runways stay closed for departures. Stream is good as ever, Kevin. Thank you for the feedback. I did tweak the sound somewhat. I tried to put the microphone volume for the ambient sounds, the plane noises, a bit higher. I think I didn't put it high enough during earlier streams. There also seems to be some interference between the 2 microphones I'm using as the plane passes by, which seems to sometimes cause some sort of echo. Doesn't sound natural. When you only use one mic, it does sound better, but it's difficult to keep switching on and off the voiceover mic. Camera at the right, out of view is the next plane already being lined up, but it's also nice to see the big birds coming this way. Let me turn around the camera. An A320neo to Oslo is departing. Really love the sound of these engines. Close your eyes, just listen to the sound. It's like a little 777 coming by. More so than with the 737 Maxes, I think. Although those engines also sound sweet. Nothing, of course, compares to the OG of the new generation high bypass engines, the GE90s. Those are, of course, second to none. Let me quickly turn around the camera. The triple, there it is, from China Southern, taxiing towards the threshold as number 1. But it's being chased by other birds. So the 777 that you don't see, but that is making its way to the threshold from China Southern, is 13 years old. The second 777 that is going to Bangalore from KLM is 15 years old. The third 777 from Qatar is 4 years old. Behind it are two small, narrow body planes. First one being Flight 989 from Lufthansa to Frankfurt. That plane is 13 years old. Meanwhile, let's not forget the action. It's interesting how there aren't any birds around today, as far as I can tell. Last Sunday when I was standing here, if you guys tuned in, you could see on occasion several flocks of birds that needed to be chased away by the bird controllers, but so far it's all good. Kuni informing us about the 747 from Cargolux on the move, taxiing. Well, as long as this is the only runway in use, then it's a matter of time before it will come this way. So let's hope for that. Still a lot of spray, a lot of moisture still on the runways. So while the sun is out and it's calm, with a little breeze from the north, we did have some rain last night and yesterday evening, which is why the runways are still wet and you can see the spray as the planes rotate. Other than that, as you could see just now when I zoomed out somewhat to give you a broader overview of the traffic jam lining up at the threshold, it's sunny, hardly any clouds, a little bit of wind from the north, 5 degrees centigrade or 41 Fahrenheit, lovely weather, no significant weather, Conv OK as the METAR says, ceiling and visibility OK. Which means no clouds or any limitations to visibility in the lower parts of the sky. Meanwhile, the next plane is already lined up. Another plane is making its way over here. An Airbus from Vueling. Another 737. And at the threshold, ready to depart, another 737. Let me quickly have a look. So the plane at the threshold at the moment is going to Seville in Spain from Transavia, or at least it says HV, so it's a Transavia flight, but the plane is from KLM. The plane is 23 years old, from 1999. The second 737 behind it. And let me go back to the camera. Things are on the move quickly. Doesn't give me a lot of time to look at all the details of flight radar. do see some more clouds in the distance. Maybe you can see it also if I zoom out somewhat. I think it might be coming this way, so we'll have to see how long the sun stays out. Of course, the sun is on the other side, so it's probably going to take a while before the clouds really cover the sun. But more clouds are underway, coming in from the north by the looks of it. Meanwhile, I'm looking to see if I can see 747, but I don't, unfortunately. This, of course, being 737 MAX. You can definitely hear how it sounds different from the older types. I have to say, I personally like the sound of the A320neos better, but these machines also make a gnarly sound, that's for sure. Okay, turning around the camera, the next plane ready to take off is an A320 from Vueling, going to Alicante by the looks of it. Let me have a look and see how old it is. 7 years old, was delivered in March 2015. It seems that the next plane making its way over here will be Delta Flight 57 to Salt Lake City, another A330. We'll see. Great, gear up, and away she goes. Oh, what's this? What's this? What's this? Can I capture it? Where is it? Come on. Is. I think that's one of those Dornier airplanes that patrol the coast. Sorry that I wasn't able to capture it. It was coming right towards me. Hard to track. These planes typically fly in front of the North Sea coast, and also chipping in excellent quality sound and vision. Thank you so much, and for your feedback. So this is the A330-300 from Delta, flight 57, going to Salt Lake City. This plane is already 19 years old, was delivered in September 2003. And unfortunately I see that Runway 09 is also in use again. been on and off throughout the morning. Unfortunately, that means that not all planes taking off will be coming towards the runway we are standing at. Now, I'm sure that a few more planes that are headed out to the United States or Canada will come this way, as they typically have to go westbound, and this is the westernmost of the runways of Schiphol. Renee asking if 09 is open again. Well, the app I'm using says it isn't, but looking at flight radar I can see that planes are taking off from 09, so unfortunately it seems to be that 09 is open again. Now obviously it's always a secondary runway, and Kaagbaan and Polderbaan are the preferential runways of Schiphol, so when 09 is open, and unfortunately we've experienced that several times before already, well, a few times before when we were streaming over there. When it is in use, it's typically not the entire day unless there are strong east or western winds blowing. But yeah, as now this part of the day, this time of day, typically a lot of the heavies going to the United States and Canada depart. Chances are of course bigger that some of the heavies that otherwise would have gone to this runway to take off will depart from 09, particularly the ones that should go to Africa and stuff, southbound. We'll have to see. First up is this A330 at least, and it seems that an A321 from Finnair to Helsinki is going to be next. Still, quick glance at flight radar shows that there are still a lot of planes active outbound. Plenty more planes will come this way, I'm sure. Despite high clouds getting closer and closer, visibility at the levels these planes are flying at when taking off is still good, unimpeded, which means we can follow the planes for quite some time. This A330 will make a left-hand turn shortly, going towards the North Sea, going towards England. Probably somewhere to Scotland and or Ireland to enter the North Atlantic tracks. Now my camera seems to have lost focus, which is a good time to turn around the camera and focus on the next plane making its way over here. That's the Finnair A320. It seems that another A330 is making its way over here. Another A330-300 from Delta Airlines going to Boston. Now crossing runway 36 center. I think, is that, no, that looks like Singapore Airlines, the tail that we see moving. don't see it on flight radar. Now comes an interesting moment. The cargo lux 747-400 to Luxembourg is taxiing this way, but where it's taxiing right now, it might also still go to the threshold of 09. So we'll learn in a few moments what it's going to do. I'm afraid we won't be seeing it. It's going to go to 09. The Airbus taking some distance using a lot of the runway, making a semi-rolling start right in front of us. Now I can hear the next plane already taxiing towards us. Around the camera so you can see it as well. It is the A330 from Delta, and the 747 unfortunately is taking off from runway 09. You can see the tail. It will appear on the left. There it is. Wah, 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 wah. Too bad. Yeah, that's the thing with Schiphol. You never know for sure what runways they will be using. It's not always logical. So we'll have to wait and see what comes next. Still several planes on the move at the moment. Unfortunately, we don't get to see the bird controllers that much. No fireworks today, or at least we did have some earlier, but that was still in the distance. Bird-wise, it's a quiet morning. So for the people who have just tuned in, welcome to the stream, welcome to AMS Live. My name is Boy. We're standing at the Polderbaan, runway 36 left, which is currently one of the two runways in use for departures. The plane we see line up right now is Delta Airlines flight 259 going to Boston, and the plane is 19 years old. See still some spray from the rain yesterday evening. when the plane rotates, you will see even more spray. We had rain last night and yesterday evening. For today and the next few days, no precipitation of any significance is predicted. While the sun is currently still shining, there are some clouds moving in from the north, which is also the direction the wind is blowing from. Not loud, not hard I should say. Which is also why there is a second runway angled 90 degrees to the direction of the wind active. Typical Schiphol. You would think maybe they would do parallel departures, but that's out of the question for now until I think the beginning, or at least somewhere in April. Runway 36 center, 18 center, the middle of the three north-south oriented runways of Schiphol Airport is closed for the next few months for maintenance, although when I look around I don't see any maintenance taking place at the moment. So parallel departures and takeoffs are out of the question for now. '09 is the secondary departure runway for today. And there seems to be a Dreamliner making its way over here. And looking at flight radar, that would be United flight 908 to Chicago, and this is a 787-800 Dreamliner, the original Dreamliner, the smallest of the fleet of Dreamliners these days. The plane was delivered in November 2014, so it's 8 years old. Now, it seems that KLM flight 757 is also making its way over here. That's its big brother, the 787-10, going to Panama City. That's also taxiing towards this runway. This plane is newer, 2 years old, was delivered in May 2020. And another Dreamliner is making its way over here behind it from TUI. That's another 7878 going to Curacao, to Willemstad, one of the Caribbean islands that I think officially still belongs to the Kingdom of the Netherlands, although the official status is a bit complicated, so I might be wrong in saying that it's still part of the kingdom. I'm not sure. At least it's in the Caribbean, just north of the Venezuelan coast. Behind it is yet another Dreamliner, a second 787-10 from KLM. This is flight 623 going to Atlanta, and that's a 3-year-old Dreamliner. So 4 Dreamliners making their way over here. 2 787-10s, 2 787-8s. Let me turn around the camera somewhat, zoom out a little bit, give you an overview. The first plane in the left of the screen is the United flight, and the other Dreamliners are coming behind it. Standing in grass here, and I've been moving around my tripod so often that it's become a bit muddy and sticky. Luckily I wear boots, but it is a bit sticky, the ground where I'm standing at the moment. I have to take that into consideration as I rotate along my tripod when airplanes pass us by, because you cannot follow them smoothly from one position, or at least I cannot. So the United Dreamliner on its way to the threshold. In the distance, more Dreamliners underway. Folks, if you guys are liking what you're seeing, consider giving the stream a like. If you want to stay updated of upcoming streams, make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure you put on notifications so that you get notified when a new stream is going live. It also helps me get more people to watch the content and enjoy what you guys are enjoying at the moment. It would really help a lot. It means a lot to me. Meanwhile, the first Dreamliner is already lined up. It's going to spool up any minute, so I'll be shutting up. Unfortunately, from the side it's hard to see. If you were to stand in line with the runway at the other side, you could see the Dreamliner coming its way over to you. You would also see the wings starting to flex as the speed increases. Pretty awesome. They're already upward facing, but as the speed increases, you can see them go up more and more, particularly when they rotate, and even more pressure comes onto the wings. I find it always surprising that they don't snap, but these wings are so incredibly strong. When you see the tests that they perform, they can bend so much further than they do in daily use. It's incredible. Can't do that with steel wings, that's for sure. So this is the big brother, the 787-10, the first of the two. Meanwhile, the clouds are moving in quickly. I think the sun is already going to get blocked any minute now, because the clouds are moving in so quickly. And you can see them come in. That will probably improve visibility somewhat, as we don't have as much backlight from the sun anymore once it gets more clouded. Is the second 787-800, the small one, and the big brother 787-10 is already at the threshold waiting to get clearance to take off. So another plane is making its way over here. Seems to be a CRJ. It is a CRJ. One of the few planes that have their engine still mounted to the fuselage. Yannis, hello. Hello from Amsterdam. Let me also have a look at Flight Radar, see what is coming up next. Several planes still active at the platform. 09 still appears to be in use. The CRJ making its way to the threshold from Nordica, going to Stockholm, was delivered in November 2011, so it's 11 years old. Stockholm in Sweden, to the northeast of the Netherlands. This is a flight of 1100 kilometers and a bit. So that is probably not longer than 1.5 to 2 hours. Didn't see anything coming after this plane right away, which means we'll have to wait a little bit after this plane has taken off, unless of course something taxis this way in the meantime. I didn't see anything particularly coming this way just yet, but that's just a matter of time, as it always is. So this plane is going to make a right-hand turn eventually. It's now flying directly north. We'll have to go to the northeast, so it's probably going to depart in in northeastern direction, of course, towards Groningen, which is also where the planes that leave for Asia typically go to, because of the curvature of the Earth. They have to fly more to the north to get the shortest route, although I'm not sure yet if they still fly the same routes, what with the global political situation going on. So there is a plane making its way over here. KLM flight 1085, one of the new type Embraer's 195 E2s, going to Cork, Ireland, sorry. This is a plane that's 1 year old, was delivered in April 2021, so it's almost celebrating its second birthday. And there is another 777 coming this way by the looks of it. Another China Southern cargo airplane. 777F to Shanghai. Let me double check. Yeah, it is making its way over here. The 777 from China Southern is 2 years old, was delivered in February 2020. See how relatively large the engines are on these new types. Here's the diameter. Pepe. Servus aus Innsbruck. Also a lovely airport. Was there recently when I was on holiday. Flew to Innsbruck, then the rest by taxi to the Dolomites in Italy, after having gone to Austrian Tyrolean destinations for several years. Good platform to look at planes from. And also for being a passenger on board. Flying into Innsbruck is something you would have to do at least once in your life, I should think, if you're an aviation enthusiast. Because you descend between the mountains in the valley, the in-valley. You fly between the mountains, particularly if they're also covered with snow in the winter. You can see the ski slopes, the ski lifts, if visibility is okay. If it's not, then you'll fly in the clouds and you're in for a bumpy ride, and then all of a sudden you're on the ground. But if the weather is good, the arrivals in Innsbruck are one of a kind and really, really highly recommended. Okay. Let's turn around the camera. The China Southern Cargo 777 is nearby. Hello David, from Puerto Rico no less. Good morning to you then. Still early over there. Awesome to see people tune in from destinations from all over the world. As you guys can see, we're currently filming departing planes. We're standing at the Polderbaan runway 36 left, which is one of the two runways in use at the moment. Wind is blowing from the north. These planes take off in northern direction. Wind is calm. Visibility is good. Temperature 5 degrees centigrade, 41 Fahrenheit approximately. Behind the China Southern Cargo plane, another smaller jet is making its way over here. By the looks of it, a little Airbus A320. Also other stuff happening in the background, we'll see. I think that would be an Airbus A330 from Delta to JFK that also seems to be making its way over here. Unfortunately, it seems that there are still two runways in use. Helmut, good afternoon just now. From Kleve, Germany, just around the border, just over the border. Auch viel Deutsch sprechende Freunde. Wunderbar. Willkommen allen. spray you see is from precipitation that we had last night and yesterday evening. Although the stream started with blue skies and hardly any clouds, in the meantime it has gradually become overcast. Still, no precipitation is predicted for the rest of the day and also not for the upcoming days. Just a bit of wind from the north. Temperatures above zero. In the meantime, the A330 Neo, as we can see, to JFK is also coming closer by in the direction of the threshold. There are two planes. We see an Embraer from KLM and we see this little A320, hard to tell if it's an A320, 21, 19 or 18. Well, doesn't seem to be an 18. It's bigger than that. British Airways by the looks of it. And now taking off. Well, there you go. That Embraer is already spooling up and rolling. No time to waste. These small jets, of course, can take off quickly behind each other. Generate so much wake turbulence so that you don't have to wait as long as when a heavy takes off. Let me quickly turn around. The A330 is already at the threshold. Retracting. Such slow landing gear. So what's coming up next? Let's see. There is an Embraer on the move. It seems to be going to the threshold, not taking off right in front of us. Let me also look at flight radar, see if I can see anything on the move. A few Embraers. A320, a few A320s. Hard to tell what's coming next. There's nothing nearby just yet. 09 still seems to be in use at the moment. Which is a pity. I really had my hopes up this morning that we would only see traffic take off from this runway. But Schiphol has let us down, unfortunately. Let's see what we can see happening in the distance. Our planes on the move. You can see the tails here and there. Hi Alex. Tuning in from Stuttgart. Welcome to the stream. Welcome all the others who have just tuned in. We're currently waiting for the next plane to come. Seems that the next plane will be a flight from KLM to Kristiansand in the south of Norway. Little Embraer. We'll have to wait a little bit before it comes in view. The Embraer is making its way over here. You can see it behind the stop sign. There are a few Heavies on the move at the moment that seem to be, well, at least the Delta flight to Portland will probably make its way over here. There's also a 777 going to Nairobi from KLM. I'm afraid that that will probably take off from 09. We'll have to wait and see. It's always a surprise to see what's coming up and whatnot. Sometimes planes departing in another direction, what you think depart from another runway comes to this runway, and sometimes the other way around. Here we have a little Embraer. Will it go to the threshold, or will it go and come straight ahead, take off from over here? There also seems to be another plane coming this way, in the distance, in the middle of the screen. Let me not jinx it. So the Embraer is coming over here. It's going to take off right in front of us by the looks of it. Front row seat. Just pull up. I did see some movement in the distance. It doesn't seem to be planes coming this way just yet. But you can definitely see a lot of movement in the background. And it does seem that the A330 from Delta Airlines to Portland, Delta Flight 179, is coming over here. That's a 16-year-old Airbus A330-300. There also seems to be a 737-800 from Ryanair to Dublin underway. Meanwhile, I see the 777 to Nairobi from KLM being lined up at runway 09. Won't be seeing that takeoff in front of us. There's another Embraer to Copenhagen taxiing out, but not sure yet to which runway. Ryanair 737 is on the far right of the screen, if I'm not mistaken. Gradually making its way over here. On the far left, the A330 to Portland. Embraer 190 to Copenhagen. That also now seems to be coming this way. also become visible in a few moments. The A330, now out of view on the left hand side, will cross over to the right in the foreground shortly, making its way to the threshold. Ryanair 737 behind it, so we'll see. Sometimes you can see those smaller planes creep ahead so that they don't have to wait for the wake turbulence of the Heavy to dissipate. I think by the looks of it, it's still relatively far away, so I think the A330 will depart first. Seems that another Embraer is coming over here as well. Another 190 from KLM to Billund, which is in Denmark. A 9-year-old plane. So the A330 now almost at the threshold. Delta Flight 179, 16 years old. The Ryanair flight to Dublin. The plane is 10 years old. And the Embraer to Copenhagen, the first of the two coming this way, is 13 years old. Let me head back to the camera, turn around the camera. A330 is now entering the runway. It's going to take off any minute now. See some vortices from the winglets, at least on the right hand side by what I can see on my little screen. Of course, a consequence of air humidity and pressure. I can see a fire engine making its way over to the base, or at least it looks like a fire engine. Fire department, the local fire department for at least this part of the platform area is over here. During earlier streams you sometimes saw 3 of them patrolling. So a few more planes are getting over here, as you can see. Ryanair 737 is already at the threshold and is pulling up to take off. night, it seemed. Maybe there was a little gust of wind. Not sure. I haven't seen other planes do that before. So, 2 Embraers, one of which is already spooling up, the second one is nearing the threshold. Meanwhile, K1, Scarecrows, is driving past us. Earlier this morning it was K3. Scarecrows, the bird controllers. Well, at least in this part of the platform area, they have it quiet today. Didn't see any plane, any birds, let alone flocks of birds in the last hour or so. Bird controllers, of course. Working day and night, 24/7. To prevent bird strikes from happening. Shooting on fireworks or sounding animal sounds from birds of prey. Is also a tool they use to get rid of birds flocking around in unwanted places. Let me have a look and see what's coming up next, because there's nothing right in front of us just yet. Hello Hakan from Izmir, Turkey. Welcome from Amsterdam, Netherlands. First up, and we see approaching in the distance, is Airbus A320neo from Air Malta, flight 395, going to Malta in the Mediterranean. This plane is 3 years old, and behind it is an Embraer from KLM, an E190, going to Zurich, Switzerland, and the Embraer from KLM is 9 years old. Now I do see a 747-800 on the move from the south part of the platform area where the cargo area is. Cathay Pacific Cargo going to Hong Kong. It would be awesome if runway 09 would close between now and before it takes off, so that it comes this way. If it flies to Hong Kong and it flies over Russia, then it can also use a northern departure. It isn't necessarily a lot shorter if it takes an eastbound departure, but yeah, we'll see. 747-800s, of course, the longest planes. I think they're even a bit longer than the A340-600, but I'm not entirely sure. It's definitely one of the longest planes. Of course, having 4 engines. They're also used on the Dreamliner, so the sound is familiar. Well, fingers crossed. Meanwhile, the Neo already has its takeoff lights on, so I'm guessing that it's going to come straight ahead towards us and take off right in front of us and not go to the threshold first. Make a rolling start. I hear the next plane stepping on the gas. It's pulled up a little bit to speed up the taxi, and it's an Embraer also making its way over here, so it's going to take off right in front of us. Also going to make a rolling start, probably. Wave to the pilots. Oh, they don't make a rolling start. So the Neo was still too close by. Now it's pulling up. So yeah, you can see it's becoming more clouded. It's now almost overcast completely. Earlier we had blue skies and an abundance of sunlight. But despite the increase of clouds, no rain is forecasted. It's just clouds and a bit of wind. Nothing too serious. Wind's blowing from the north. This runway 36 left is one of the 2 runways in use at the moment. Angel telling us boyfriend plane is coming into land from LA very soon. Unfortunately, we won't be able to see it land unless, perhaps from the distance. Because runway 24 is currently, or runway 06 is in use for landings at the moment. So we won't be able to see landing planes today, unfortunately. That the sun is out, shining between the clouds, briefly illuminating the airplane, providing a nice contrast against the cloudy backdrop. So while it is getting more cloudy, it's not going to rain for the next few days, at least that's what they predicted. Temperature is above freezing, it's 5 degrees or so centigrade, which equates to 41 Fahrenheit. I think, is that the Emirates A380 we see in the distance? Or is it the 777 from Emirates? I'm not sure. That has probably landed by now. That normally arrives around this time. So yeah, for those of you who have only joined us just now, we are standing alongside the Polderbaan, runway 36 left, which is one of the 2 planes in use. Runways, let me double check. Earlier this morning we had 2 runways in use, and by the looks of it we still do. So the departing traffic is divided between this runway and runway 09. The aforementioned 747-800 you can see in the distance. Now, I'm not sure if Flightradar is up to speed entirely, but on Flightradar it seems to have already passed runway 09. If it's going to make a left-hand turn, then we can know for sure that it's going to come this way, which would be awesome. Flightradar says it's already past 09, but yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I think the 747-800 is coming this way. Pretty sure of it right now. So the long cargo version going to Hong Kong from Cathay Pacific Cargo, 11 years old already. My god, I thought these 800s were not so old already, but apparently they are. Before the 747 is coming over here, we first will see an A321neo from Aegean Airlines. That's also entering the view on the right hand side at the moment. Going to Athens, capital of Greece, as you probably all know. It's a brand new plane, was delivered in May 2022, so it's under a year old. There's a 737-900 to Berlin from KLM, also making its way over here behind the Cathay Pacific 747. The 737 to Berlin is 21 years old. Those are the 3 planes coming this way right now. We'll have to see if the Aegean Airbus will be going to the threshold or if it's going to take off right in front of us. I think it might do the latter, but you never know for sure. Doesn't have all of its takeoff lights on already, but that can still change. Lovely view. Folks, if you guys are enjoying the stream and you haven't done so already, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you want to keep updated about upcoming streams in the future, make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so already and turn on the notifications. This not only helps you get informed about upcoming streams, it helps me get a wider audience so that more people can enjoy the content you guys are enjoying right now. On its way to Athens. You can see the sun is still coming out between the clouds every now and then, shortly briefly illuminating the plane just now. Overall, it's overcast right now. Let me quickly turn around the camera because we don't want to miss the 747, and it's also a sight to behold as it makes its way over here. Tangled between the engines, you can also see the engine of the plane behind it. And here you can see a few more planes zigzagging their way over here. Now there is a chance that the 737 is going to take off before the 747, so that it doesn't have to wait for the wake turbulence. It's already close by, so it's probably going to take off as previous planes did before, right in front of us. well, the Embraer 195 is also making its way over here. So those planes are all taking off right in front of the 747. Logical. Just really quiet, those engines. Not sure if you can hear it over the speakers. If you're standing here, you can definitely tell the difference between these older engines and these newer engines. Obviously they're still loud, but comparatively they are really quiet. Right, time to turn around the camera. The Queen is almost ready to take off. Now you can see it has 4 of those big engines that are also mounted to the Dreamliners. I'll be quiet now. Like having 2 Dreamliners take off for the price of 1. Now, this plane is on its way to Hong Kong, so it's going to make a right-hand turn eventually. Head out most likely to Groningen, the northeast of the Netherlands, then go towards Scandinavia, the Baltic states. Visible only just. My camera is struggling to maintain focus. I think it now also has vanished into the clouds. In the meantime, we have another big bird making its way over here. A 777-300 no less. Now let me have a look at flight radar to see what we are dealing with. Hello Frank, I should say, and AS asking whether or not the weather is a bit bad today, but that's really not too, it's really not too bad. It's just clouded, and it's not too cold. Wind is not too, it is relatively calm, and it's just overcast at the moment. The triple we see line up is KLM flight 871, is going to go to Delhi in India. 6 years old, ladies and gentlemen. Let me quickly head back to man the camera. Granted, we did start the stream earlier this morning with clear blue skies. Gradually clouds from the north entered and things are now overcast entirely. Wind is still blowing from the north and no precipitation was expected for today. You can still see spray as the planes rotate in the distance. Runways are still damp, if not moist. It did rain last night and yesterday evening, and of course this time of year it's not going to evaporate so quickly, so there's still moisture on the tarmac, but nothing extreme. Let me see, that's a 737, and by the looks of it, is it another 737? I cannot make out quite well just yet. Let me also use this moment to have a look at flight radar, see what's coming up. Planes are on the move again. First up is Transavia flight, well, no call sign according to flight radar, to Larnaca. Where is that? That's in... that's Cyprus. And behind it, KLM flight 1075 to Manchester, and that is another 737. The KLM 737 is 11 years old. The Transavia 737 is 8 years old. Then there's also another 737 from KLM making its way over here. That is headed out to Lisbon in Portugal. 12 years old. There's another Delta Air A330 coming this way to Minneapolis. Delta 163. 17 years old. All coming this way as far as I can tell right now. If I have a look at my runway usage app, that tells me which runways are in use. It says that at the moment 36 left is the only runway in use, so 09 appears to have closed for now. That means that for the time being, if the app is correct, all the departing traffic will come this way. We'll see. We'll see. The Polderbaan, where we are standing at, 36 left, is one of the preferential runways together with the Kaagbaan. That's runway 2406, depending on which way you're flying towards it or from it. Those are most typically used if it can be done. The other runways are all secondary and typically not in use throughout the entire day. Next one is already spooling up. No time to follow the planes too long. bit of crosswind over there. You can see the plane bang to the left and to the right a little. So apparently a bit wobbly. So Embraer A330 737. Wind does seem to be picking up somewhat now that I'm facing into the wind with my head. Wind seems to be blowing a bit more than it was just now. Okay, meanwhile you might have heard it already, and now you can also see it. The next plane is already lined up right in front of us and spooling up. You can clearly see that the sun is still making its way through the clouds. If I look around, I don't see a lot of blue skies anymore. Meanwhile, the A330 is spooling up, ready to depart. Ever slowly retracting landing gear of the A330. Wind is definitely picking up a little bit, but that's only good news because the wind is blowing from the north, which makes taking off from 09 less favorable. So that only increases chances of traffic making their way over here instead of to 09. If I look at flight radar, I can see 3 planes back to back coming this way, which makes it a bit difficult for me to see what they all are. You can also see them on the screen. First up would be EasyJet Flight 26772 to Belfast. That's a 15-year-old bird, and behind it is a 777-300 ER from KLM, Flight 743, going to Lima in Chile, if I'm not mistaken. If my topography lessons from school serve me well. This plane, 2 years old, was delivered in December 2020, and the third plane making its way over here is KLM flight 1273. That's a Embraer 175 going to Poznan in Poland, and the Embraer number 3 is 5 years old. More appears to be underway. I can also see Delta 37 taxiing, probably also this way, going to Orlando. That's another A330-300, one of the many we have already seen today. And that would be a 6-year-old plane delivered in January 2017. To my surprise, I feel some droplets, and I see some droplets on my screen. A little bit of rain. Let me quickly have a look and see if this is anything significant. And it doesn't seem to be, because my camera and gear, well, my laptop is secured in a tent, but my camera and my power supply aren't, so I will have to closely look and see that the rain is not going to continue for too long, but it seems that this is just a few droplets. I'm pretty sure my gear will be able to withstand that. I have to closely watch, as I wasn't expecting any rain today. I can hear some fireworks set off in the distance by the Schiphol scarecrows. And let me quickly turn around, because in front of us, lined up, is a little Embraer. Meanwhile, over to the right, at the threshold of the runway, the triple is also lining up. So fortunately the rain already seems to have stopped. Let's hope it stays that way. You can definitely see that the pilots are also having to correct a little bit more for wind than they had to do earlier. Wind does seem to have picked up a little. traffic is underway. Let me see. There also seem to be some droplets on the screen. Let me see if I can get that off. That should be okay. Also dry up the screen of my camera, which makes it easier for me to focus on the important things in front of us. So more planes are coming up, as you can see. Also use this moment to blow my nose, as you can hear. Allows me to speak a bit more clearly. So the A330 now taxiing to the threshold on the right out of the view is going to Orlando. Delta 37, 6 years old. The other planes are EasyJet going to London Luton, the A320, flight 22156, 10 years old, the A320, and number 3 you can see coming this way is Transavia flight 5803 to Tel Aviv. That's a 6-year-old plane. Coming up behind it, and let me quickly turn around the camera. I can also see 2 Dreamliners making their way over here. I didn't have the chance to see all the details yet. I will do that shortly. One of the many A330s we have already seen depart earlier today. The EasyJet plane is already lined up, has to wait for the wake turbulence to dissipate somewhat, so it's not going to take off right away. Let me quickly have a look and see the 2 Dreamliners that I saw approaching. Is a 787-900 from KLM going to Austin, Texas. That's a 5-year-old plane. And American 203 to Philadelphia is also making its way over here. That's a 787-800. Brand new, was delivered in November. So 2 more Dreamliners coming up after the narrow bodies we see now. Struggling somewhat with my tripod, particularly the tilt is not as smooth as I want it to be, so it sometimes goes in one go and overshoots. find a solution for that in time as well. So that's the A320 from EasyJet, and meanwhile the 737 from Transavia to Tel Aviv is also taking off. Beautifully illuminated by the sun, briefly, nicely contrasting against the backdrop of clouds. So, folks, let me turn around the camera. We can see approaching the American Airlines Dreamliner. In the distance we see other planes on the move as well. Let's turn around to the right to the threshold where the other Dreamliner is lining up as we speak. The American Dreamliner is almost entering the runway. In the meantime, we can also see some more planes in the distance. I think the first one is a Transavia airplane. I think they are two 737s. Let's quickly head to the American Airlines Dreamliner, already spooling up to take off. Look at that, beautiful. The illumination from the sun helps to make the plane appear even more gracious than it already is. So, two 737s. The first one, Iceland Air. followed shortly by KLM. So the Iceland airplane is going to Reykjavik Airport. It's a 737 MAX 9. The second 737 will be flying to Hamburg, and more is underway. Another A330 from Delta. Before that, an Embraer from KLM. So let's quickly turn around the camera for the 787 MAX. You can see that the sun is coming out again. Wow. Current livery, or this livery I should say, I'm not sure if this is the new current livery of Iceland Air. They used to have a different livery with different color scheme. I have to say I like this livery. Oh, the next plane is already spooling up, I can hear it. Let me quickly turn around. No time to waste. Now listen to the difference between the the MAX and the older 737. Which one do you like best? The old one or the new MAX engines? Let me turn around the camera so you can see what's coming up. Here, one of the many A330s we have already seen from Delta. On the threshold, ready to take off. A little Embraer from KLM. I think that was going to... Oh wait, I'm behind schedule. The one to Hamburg already left. Okay, well, no time to waste. Let's go back. Make sure we capture the moment. Back at the threshold, the Delta A330 is making its way onto the runway. Going to Detroit, flight 137. And this plane is 6 years old. KLM flight 601 to LAX is also coming this way, 777, if I saw correctly. We'll probably see it taxi along in the background any minute now. Dreamliner, I think it was a Dreamliner, not a triple. This would be KLM flight 601 to LAX, and I was mistaken. This is a Dreamliner, the biggest one, the 787-10. Behind it in the background is Delta flight 75 to Atlanta, which is one of the many A330s that we already saw depart today. Further in the background, not yet visible I think, but shortly will be, another Embraer from KLM to Düsseldorf. First up, KLM flight 601 to LAX, 3 years old, and the A330 to Atlanta behind it, let me see, is 5 years old. Let's quickly turn around the camera to flight 601 from KLM going to LAX. So in, what is it, 11 hours or so, we'll probably be seen landing over at one of the LAX based streaming channels. You can see a takeoff at AMS Live. Still lots of spray from the rain we had last night and overnight. Wind is blowing from the north. These planes are taking off in northern direction. So this plane is going to make a left-hand turn eventually to go towards the United Kingdom to enter the North Atlantic tracks and head over the Atlantic Ocean. This plane will do the same, of course to a different destination within the United States, but it's still going to use the same North Atlantic tracks. It's already spooling up. Well, it's still overcast. The clouds do seem to open up somewhat. I can see a spot of blue here and there between the clouds. During the departures of earlier planes, you could also see momentary illumination of the airplane as it flew through a ray of sunlight. It's still mostly clouded, but dry. It's about 5 degrees centigrade, which is roughly 40-41 degrees Fahrenheit. At the moment, this is the only runway in use for departures. Earlier this morning, we had dual runways in use, and runway 09 was also active for departures. So unfortunately, we didn't capture all the departing planes this morning and early afternoon. As one of the Heavies cars from the bird controllers passed us by. Hardly seen any birds today over at the area I'm standing at. In stark contrast to last Sunday, when I was also standing here and several flocks of birds were seen and were also chilling alongside the runway. So we haven't had a lot of fireworks displays from the bird controllers today, since there was no need to set off any fireworks. In the meantime, another plane is coming over. 2 planes were coming over, the first one being an Embraer, and the second one appears to be a triple, but I'm not sure. It's still far away. It does seem to be a triple. It is a triple. I'm looking at flight radar to confirm. Flight KLM flight 877 to Mumbai in India. The triple is 19 years old. The Embraer to Montpellier in France, 6 years old. Let me quickly turn around the camera. Let me quickly turn around the camera so that we can see the triple coming over. Always a sight to behold. They don't seem to be that big when you look at them like so from the front, particularly with those 300s. When you see them from the side, the profile, you can see how big they actually are. See it with this one, the 200, and the 300 of course shows even more. I think the same also applies to the 787-10, the Dreamliner, the biggest of them all. They are particularly long. I think they compare to the triples in terms of length. And when you see them from the front, they also seem to be, well, you don't think immediately, oh, that's a big plane, but when you see them from the profile, from the side, that perception changes quite drastically. Bashar, hello to you too, and to all the others. While I'm looking at the chat screen, I can answer your question immediately. This is 36 left. We are standing at the Polderbaan, used for departures in northern direction. Right. We'll have to see what comes next, because at the moment it is a bit quiet. If I look at flight radar, I can see that the first flight making its way over here is from KLM. It's an Embraer KLM flight 1017 to London Heathrow. It's an Embraer 190, 12 years old. That seems to be the first plane making its way over here. There seems to be a second Embraer 190 coming over here, also from KLM to Brussels. That's a very short distance away. These planes typically only climb to, what is it, 20,000 or so feet before setting in the landing. There are some other planes on the move at the platform at the moment. But nothing is in the vicinity just yet. I can see a Dash 8 from Flybe. Can also see a Martin Air Boeing 747-400, destination Miami. So if that is going to take off from this runway, it's definitely worth sticking around for, both for you as the viewer and for me as the broadcaster. Let me see what Boeing 747 is going to do. Would be nice if we were to capture a second 747 during the stream, during the broadcast. Last Sunday we were more lucky. We had 4, no less. If you haven't seen that, you can look it up at YouTube. 4 Boeing 747s, no less, in a time span of 3 or so hours, I think it was. Be looking at that 747 closely. So this Embraer is probably going to take off right in front of us, as several others have done so before. Probably going to make a rolling start. Meanwhile, the second Embraer is also making its way over here, following the same path, the same entry to the runway. So that one too is going to take off right in front of us. Not sure if it can go just yet, if it is already cleared. If not, then it will be soon. But it is, I like the sound of it. Let's see. Turn around the camera towards the main platform area. Let's see. First up is a -8 from Flybe going to Nottingham. Seems to be taxiing towards us. The Cargolux 747 to Miami is still... oh no, it seems to be on the move as well. As it's going to Miami, there is quite a significant chance that it's going to come this way. If it is, I'll stick around to make sure we see it take off. Meanwhile, at the other side of the platform, KLM flight 641 to JFK is also live. Not sure if it's already been pushed back or if it still has to be pushed back, but that's a 777 to JFK, which is very, very likely also coming this way. Let me have a look. Yeah, 36 left is still the only runway in use for departures at the moment. So all departing planes, once they do take off, will be coming this way. I can see the Flybe coming in. It's just crossing the two light masts in the center. It's now just to the left of the stop sign in the distance. Slowly but surely getting there. Cargolux 747 is also on the move. Don't see the 777 to JFK moving just yet. Truck, small car passing in front. Meanwhile, I can see the Flybe -8 just below the tower on the right of the screen, making its way over here. Still a significant taxi from over there. As most of you probably know, the runway we are standing at, the Polderbaan, is the newest addition to the Schiphol runways and was built in 2003. It's furthest removed from the main platform area, so if you land over here and you need to go to the gate at the main platform area, you're still in the plane for a 15-minute taxi approximately. Similarly, if you have to come from the other side of the main platform area to depart from the runway over here, it's a good 10 to 15-minute taxi to get over here. You're basically taxiing from Amsterdam to Haarlem. But it's getting there, and I can see that the Cargolux 747 has crossed the Kaagbaan. It's coming this way, and the 777 from KLM to JFK is also on the move. So stay tuned, people. Big birds are coming. If you want to help get this stream and this channel to a broader audience, make sure you give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to stay updated of upcoming streams in the future. Make sure you also switch on notifications so that you get an alert when we go live again. Always good to see another turboprop airplane making its way over here. I think the Dash 8s are the only ones for passenger flights that we still see at Schiphol Airport. They are somewhat of a rarity these days. Flybe is the only operator I can think of that still operates them on Schiphol. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think it's still very remarkable to see how those main landing gears are retracted into the engine bay. So you have an engine with all those warm exhaust gases being produced, and then the wheels with rubber tires just besides it. Remarkable that they've made something like that, and it works apparently as well. So we can see the 777 to New York JFK coming over here, and I can also see that the 747-400 to Miami from Cargolux is also making its way over here. Pedal to the metal, taxiing with 20 knots. So I'll definitely stay around for those two departures, and I think after that I'm going to call it quits for today. I'm definitely looking to come back for another stream later this weekend, maybe even tomorrow. I'm not sure yet. Depends on my schedule and also the weather, but I think the weather is not going to be an issue. I'm definitely going to stay around for the 777, and if we can see a second Queen take off, and I think we can see it in the distance on the right, making its way over here, and I'm definitely going to stick around for. In the meantime, I can also see that a few of the fire engines are out. Not sure if that's just to clean up or maybe some maintenance, I'm not sure. My tripod is not going as smooth as I wanted to go. Right, back to the triple. Now making its way over to the threshold. Meanwhile, let's look at flight radar, double check. This is a plane from March 2004, so it's 18 years old, and the 747-400 that is coming this way is 21 years old. It was delivered in July 2001. Quickly back to the camera so that we don't miss the shot. Lovely backdrop of clouds. You can see the different shades of grey. A typical Dutch sky, I would say. But enough of that, because the second Queen of the Sky that we are going to witness take off during the stream is coming closer and closer. I think that's even more interesting than the lovely clouds. And I can see that behind the 747 is a flight from Turkish Anadolu Jet, operated by Turkish Airlines, to Istanbul, also making its way over here, and another triple is also coming over, which is destined to fly to Oranjestad. That's a 777-300ER. Let's see, maybe I will stick around for the triple as well. You can see it in the distance. There's always another plane coming up, isn't there? But first, look at that. How can you not like the 747? Still the older type engines. I think these are General Electrics. Lovely reflection of the sunlight and the livery. Old school sound. Lovely. Now, this plane off to Miami also first needs to make its way to the North Atlantic tracks, which, depending on the wind prevailing, they typically enter somewhere in the vicinity of Ireland, or sometimes even more northern Scotland or so. So it first needs to fly towards the United Kingdom. It's going to make a left-hand turn shortly. I think we can still see that, as it won't enter the clouds before then. Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, look at that. Control of Schiphol fire engines. Waving, sounding their horns. Heavies do that as well. Always nice. Meanwhile, the flight to Istanbul. And another queue of 3 airplanes at the moment. Yeah, number 1, number 2, and the triple. Look at the engine. Condensation due to the low pressure and the humidity. So the A320 is already lined up, waiting for clearance. Typically after one of those big birds has taken off, they have to wait a bit. For the wake turbulence to dissipate. If you fly through that, you're in for a bumpy ride. Not exactly pleasant for the passengers. So another 737 and yet another 737 from Transavia behind that. So the queue is filling up. And this one has been cleared. Meanwhile, the fire engines are crossing over, going back to their homes. They've crossed the taxi path, making their way back to base. Meanwhile, the KLM 737 is departing. I'll catch on as it passes by. Look at that little display. Not quite sure why they're doing this. If there's anybody who does know, please let me know, because I'm curious. Is this testing? Seems to be that they're testing the machinery, the workings of it. Or are they just emptying their stocks of water so that they can put in fresh water? I don't know. Not exactly sure what's happening right now. If there is anybody familiar with what's happening, please let us know. Meanwhile, I feel droplets again, and it seems to be starting to rain again. Let me have a double check on the rain radar. Nothing significant by the looks of it, but it does seem to start to rain somewhat. This one is extending upward. Okay, well, interesting to see. Probably fire drills, I think, as well. That's probably just them doing some drills. Still, you don't get to see that every day. I'm going to turn around the camera to the right, to the threshold. There's an A330 from KLM lining up, and that will be the last plane for today. I'm calling it quits officially, this time for real. Meanwhile, the fire trucks are back at their base. And with this image, I'm going to end today's stream. Thank you all so much for joining me today once more. I'm thrilled to see the traction that the channel is getting at the moment. If you haven't done so already, consider subscribing to the channel. This will help other people to find this content easier. You can also put on notifications so that whenever I go live, you get a notification. Consider giving the stream a like if you haven't done so already. Thank you all so much for joining me. Hope to see you again soon. Take care. Have a nice day for now. See you soon. Bye bye.